I call you my friends, we can talk like friends, right? This is a pastor's chat, and you are invited to come and think of yourself as sitting right here in this room with me. I'm not sure you can see the other chair that much today. I've made some adjustments. I'm a little more in your face today, but that way you can look more closely at my facial expressions as I'm talking with you. It's Monday, well on our way into the Advent season, December 7th, I think it is. And what a week, what a day, what a time. When I start to talk about what's happening in my world, I'm never really confident that in this particular case, at this particular time, that it's the same for you. You know, my live stream here from the High Mountain Presbyterian Church comes from kind of north central New Jersey, way north in terms of east, north and south, and then anyway, we're very close to some very highly densely populated areas that have some really severe concerns about the disease of COVID. I've shared with you that although that's not all I want to talk about, that in the back of my mind, this disease is looming large with both friends, family, and church members. So I'm in prayer for them all, and I am in prayer for you too, for your safety. The church here at High Mountain runs a ministry. It really is a ministry of outreach to low and lower income families to provide childcare and a really great early childhood education for children, for people who can't afford private school, meaning can't afford to just go out and add to their monthly bills the cost of an education. Once kids get to kindergarten in our country, the education is free. I mean, you pay taxes and indirectly it costs, but those costs are there anyway. For the most part, the essential and vital experience of preschool education for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, which guarantees, we already know, the payout down the line for kids is huge. But here's my yawn. It's actually right on time. But unless you live in a township that has added preschool to your experience, and that's not true for a lot of schools, then sending your children to preschool is expensive. And so we have this school, we also have childcare, daycare, if you will, but it's even that is an educational institution. It's not just babysitting. We're into child development and training and helping children develop along their way while their moms and dads are off to work, to not just pay for the school, but to pay for life. It's all closed down. Last Thursday, COVID made its entry. Our staff people that have it, I've been checking on them. They're not frighteningly sick yet, but it's frightening no matter what. That's a little overwhelming. I work still very hard, working very hard to remain unaffected. I don't want to get this virus, and I don't want to give it to anybody. So what's on your mind today? I was talking to someone earlier this morning, and they were giving me some personal feedback about myself. They said that when I had acknowledged to them that I was feeling overwhelmed, they surmised that I must really be feeling overwhelmed because they didn't see me as a person that ever acknowledged that. So I thought about that, and I thought, well, I want to try to be transparent with you. I guess you could surmise that I'm not getting a lot of sleep, but that's not really true. It's just the afternoon. So how are you? How are you? Healthy, I hope. Safe and secure, I hope. Able to get access to things that you need. We do have helpers here at the church that if you are in need of someone to bring you food or groceries or make a call to you, you feel like you need that kind of outreach, the main connection between where you are and where I am is my telephone number. And it's a work phone. So I'll give it to you again. It's 908-930-5705. And I'll give it to you at the end of this chat too, just in case in the meantime you want to go get a pencil and paper and you missed it. So I feel like this weekend, working on the themes I started, I felt like I had a breakthrough in understanding, which I always get excited about. You know, I've been preaching for 35 years, and the Bible is a big, complex collection of readings and writings, but there are kind of a standard group of texts that we work from because we've selected them because they kind of tell the story. They kind of give you a way of not getting lost in the details, in the genealogies. We don't just stand up in church and read the genealogies of Moses or even of Jesus, although I have seen someone who preached a sermon on the genealogy of Jesus, because what's interesting is included in his genealogy are two women. One is a prostitute and the other one was one that was thought of as a prostitute, are listed as mothers in the line of succession for Jesus. Heard a great sermon on that. The point is, I listen and listen and listen to the same texts sometimes, and the voice of John the Baptist, John the Baptizer, begins the Gospel of Mark. Jesus, boom, appears. There's no narrative, there's no Christmas story. Jesus appears on the scene. And before he appears on the scene, the precursor of Jesus is John the Baptizer, who arrives like the herald. He's the one who speaks into the megaphone or who speaks to the public square and says, "Behold, there's someone coming and I want to introduce them to you." And I've only ever seen this person in movies about the English times of lords and ladies, where people would ride into the town square with a squire who would announce the presence of a person. Well, John the Baptizer announces the presence of Jesus. And what's interesting is, I hope this doesn't throw you for a loop, but in the beginning of the gospel it says, "As it was written in Isaiah, prepare the way of the Lord." The voice of one crying in the wilderness, "Prepare the way of the Lord." Now, here's what I want to say to you. That's not in Isaiah. Don't worry yourself. I'm just pointing it out to you because you need to know. The writer Mark says that quote from John the Baptist came from the Old Testament, from Elijah. I think, yes, from Elijah. The point is, it's not where it says it is. I think it says, according to the book of Isaiah, it's not in Isaiah. It's not. It is a quote from Elijah. But the thing that was the great breakthrough for me in this ever working thing of trying to understand what I believe. My friends from high school and even from college were very surprised when I went to seminary. They were. And I was too. But when people came to me and they said, why are you going to seminary? I answered as honestly as I could. I was not one who saw a light open from the heavens and a voice saying to me, "You should go and become a pastor." That was not my experience. I went to seminary on a quest, and it was relatively very selfish. I went to figure out what I believe, to give an honest quest, to listening to those that could help me to identify what did I believe. I felt by the time I was 27, it was important for me to figure out what I believed. I had a long list of things that I had been exposed to in the Christian faith that I knew I didn't believe. I didn't always know why, but I knew, that's fine, that's not me. So I went to seminary to learn more about what I believe. And that quest has never stopped. What I feel grateful for is that in my quest to figure out what I believe, I have a job, I have a call, if you will, to share that journey and that quest with others as they also may want to benefit from the journey. So I do Bible studies. I don't do Bible studies because I believe I have the definitive answers to how to understand these texts. I don't. But I do have an honest journey to share. I can take you on a journey that you might identify with. And so, week after week, I open the Bible, I read these texts, I pray, I encounter and believe that Jesus, in the Spirit, works with me and helps to guide me. But the goal is for me to come to some integrity about saying, well, this is what I read and this is how I understand it. I hope it's helpful to you. And so all of that to say, in this past week, struggling with these words, what was I going to preach? What am I going to say in this Advent season about this strange one who dresses up like Elijah and then stands in the public square and says, "Come with me to the wilderness." Because there's a voice crying in the wilderness, "Make straight a highway for our God. Prepare ye. Prepare yourselves." What does it really mean? What are we listening to? And so I felt excited because in my reading and my work and thinking for the preparation for Sunday, I came to, a thought, an idea. It wasn't my own. Many people helped me, translators of the Greek, and helped me to understand the Old Testament. And as I listen and I read, I keep doing that same journey. What do I make of this? And so by Sunday, I was really relieved. For the first time, a connection to the wilderness that we live in today, and I do think we're in a wilderness. I think we always are, anyway. But sometimes it feels more like it than others. Sometimes there are watering holes and oases, and sometimes there are great communities of people in the wilderness, so they don't feel like such desolation. But we are in wilderness times right now. You keep hearing people say, unprecedented times. This is unprecedented. We are shattering all kinds of records for all kinds of things. And we've been keeping records for a long period of time. Wilderness experiences come. They do. We're in it. Forest fires destroying homes, floods, hurricanes, pandemics, worldwide pandemics, government unrest, the overturning of governmental regimes. They come. Wilderness experiences break down all of the essential 5 structural services of our human existence. Communication, food supply, security, the things that make life livable. We're in one of those times. And yet, the word of God came to John in the wilderness and said, watch how God works. God makes a highway of access to us in the middle of the wilderness. I mean, If you want to hear, you can go hear the sermon I preached on it. Obviously, I liked it enough. I'm talking about it on Monday, not just Sunday. Mary and Joseph, on their way to Bethlehem, were in the middle, for them, of a kind of all-known world crisis. It was a time of crisis when all the world was to be taxed, and Quirinius was governor of Syria. These were troubling times. These are bellwether words that tell you this was a hard time. And everybody had to leave their jobs and their homes, and they had to travel across the wilderness and up and down through the hills and valleys and make their way back to their hometown. I sometimes wonder what my hometown is. What's your hometown? If the census required you to travel back to your hometown today, what would that be? I used to tell people I was born in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, because I thought that's where I was born, in the hospital in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. And then at one point, I had to look up my birth certificate, and I found out, no, I wasn't born in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. I was born in a town called Sellersville, PA, which was right near the Bible college where my mom and dad were in residence while my father was going to Bible school. I was born in Sellersville, PA. You had to travel back to your town where you were born. And I still don't tell people I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't. I tell people I'm born and raised in New Jersey. Sometimes I tell them my hometown is Lambertville, which is where we moved afterwards, and then I was there for 9 years. But is that my hometown? Or is my hometown in Delaware Township, where I lived through the rest of my middle school years and then into high school, graduated from high school and worked? Is that my hometown? I don't know. The point is, they were in the middle of a wilderness of experience. Mary was pregnant and wasn't married. That's crisis wilderness enough for a person today. But for her, it could have been a death sentence. Crisis and wilderness was all around them. And the reason I think that Mark hears the importance of John the Baptist's words about God makes a way, takes the rough places in the wilderness and makes them smooth. God builds a highway, I guess, or we're to build a highway. I don't know, I can't tell. The point is this: the times of wilderness and crisis are a time when somehow God uses those experiences to open our eyes to see what we can't see, hear what we can't normally hear, do what we don't normally do, because we know it's a time of wilderness and of crisis. In the days following the terrible events of 9/11, the collapsing of the towers in New York City, the crash into the Pentagon, and the crash of the plane out in western Pennsylvania, in the days that followed that crisis, I'm not saying God had anything to do with them happening, but this is how God works. In the wilderness of our fears and concerns and all of it, God made a highway out of us, of gratitude and of kindness and sharing. If you were there during that time, you know it and you don't forget it. We were all of us were Americans, we said. All the world said we are together as one. The highway of God is leveled out in the middle of wilderness. For Mary and for Joseph too. For you and for me. I pray in this Advent season that part of our preparation is a recognition that things surprise us in the things of God. God advents in our lives in ways we never expected. And you have to watch for it, because the crisis, the wilderness, can be very distracting. It can also bring paralyzing fear. It can bring overwhelming grief. And so the word for this day in Advent is watch. Just watch. For the advent of God is happening even in the wilderness, especially in the wilderness of our time. I hope that's helpful to you. I know some of you are going through real personal and focused wilderness experiences right now. And I pray for that wisdom from God, that knowing of God, that you will find your way to see and know that God is with you. I will talk to you tomorrow, Tuesday, at 2 o'clock or close to it. I notice my times sometimes get a little longer, but that's because I missed a couple. Anyway, God bless you, my friends, and I will see you and talk with you tomorrow.